Good evening, everybody. Welcome to my patio. It's Rusty Blackwood again, and I welcome you to video 7 of the series Get on the Patio with Rusty Blackwood. Um, I wasn't sure whether I was going to be doing a video tonight or not. I had my grandson, my great-grandson, Patrick, with me today, as I had mentioned in my last video that I would be having him here today. Even though I'm not the one doing the babysitting. My middle granddaughter Elizabeth was doing that, but still, I'm around and I take part in a lot of different things and activities with Patrick, and I mean the time will go by so fast that again I will find myself down the road looking back wondering where did that time go, like I tend to do with my other grandchildren, who, with the exception of Sarah, who is 9, the other 3, Carson, Rick, and Elizabeth, are adults. Um, it's just mind-blowing how fast the years have gone by since they were Patrick's age or younger. And even my own 2 sons, Jamie and Jason, doesn't not seem that long ago that they were each that small. But I'm telling you, the time goes, and there's not one thing anybody can do about it. It's never been discovered yet how to make time stand still. I don't think it ever will be. So, we make the best of the time we have, and we go from there. Tonight, I'm going to do a video centering on my adult comedy series, the Durwood Tugbottom comedy series. This character has become one of my very favorites. Uh, he's exasperating. He can almost drive you up the wall at times with his fussiness and his his the way he looks at things, his regimented view of life. But he's got a heart of gold, and this character, I cannot lay claim to this character as one of my creations, because this character came from my brother Rick's very active imagination, and he came about quite innocently, really. This Durwood Tugbottom, he was born through a phone call to my oldest daughter-in-law, who is the chauffeur for quite a well-to-do adult retirement center here in St. Catharines. And my brother Rick should have been an actor. He is a musician that's his passion. He was an insurance salesman in younger years, as well as an accountant. And but music and the flair for comedy and whatever has always been something that he likes to do. And when last night and in my video where I talk about the family band, the Midnight Ramblers, my brother Rick sort of always took the part of front man in a lot of ways. He was, like an MC in a lot of ways. He did a lot of the announcements. And of course, some of that consisted of telling the odd joke, which at times used to keep my mother on the edge of her seat, wondering just how graphic these jokes were going to be, but there was many times he came very close to sending her sort of over the table, but in the end, it always came off fine, and people laughed, and my brother got a big kick out of it all, and so as I say, he's got a great personality, and he's got a very vivid imagination. Maybe like a little sister. I don't know. Maybe that's where I got it from. I don't know. But anyway, many years ago, back in, I would say 2012. I think it was either maybe late 2011 or definitely 2012, because that's when my very first comedy short, The Misadventures of Durwood Tugbottom, was published. And that book was based on a very silly phone call that my brother made to my oldest daughter-in-law. And they always had, like, they adore each other, and they've always had this ongoing banter back and forth between them, and giving each other, like at Christmas time, giving each other um, a gift, like a joke gift, a lighthearted thing. And so my daughter-in-law was telling me about this phone call after it had taken place. And in the phone call, my brother was, when he called her, and of course she has call display, so she knew who was, and all along, and but he's not letting on that he is himself. He's in this character of Durwood Tugbottom, this Englishman who is he's a retired Englishman, and he's calling to lodge a complaint with her as the chauffeur of the shuttle bus that Durwood had been aboard her bus, and after this horrific ride around the city, he got off and was checking the bus, certain that there was something that had gone wrong, that might mechanically be screwed up or something, because apparently she was supposed to be hitting every pothole in the road. So he got off to check, and while he was down peering around under the bus, unbeknownst to her, he's down there and he's checking the wheels, and he gets himself really close. Well, she decides, okay, it's time to take the bus where she parked it for the night until the morning's run. And so she puts it in gear. It's a standard shift, and of course, oftentimes standard shifts, when you go to put them into gear and you push your foot on the clutch, they have a tendency sometimes to roll backwards a little bit. And this is what happened, and apparently rolled right over his foot. And he has these humongous, almost unbelievably large feet. And she ran over his foot, ruined his shoe, and he was calling to demand restitution for the fact that this shoe was ruined. And he was demanding she do something about it. And if she did not, he was going to make all these complaints to her superior and just demand an apology, demand a new pair of shoes, and he wasn't going to take no for an answer. So he stays in character. He's going on and on and on, and not veering from his character one little bit. And my daughter-in-law, she's going along with it, because as I say, she knows who it really is, and she's going along with it. And finally, she tells him, "Okay, I know it's you, Uncle Rick," and he's not giving in. He's still sticking to Durwood, and so this goes on for, I don't know how long it actually went on in time, But apparently it went on for quite a while until finally he starts to laugh and he gives in and from there, I mean, the funny part of the phone call is over and they go on and have a little visit. Well, after the fact, she's telling me about this phone call, and it was getting on in the fall, and she had said to me, told me about this phone call, and she said, "Could you write a short story based on this phone call for me to give him for the gag gift at Christmas?" So she told me all about the phone call, what went on, all that was said, and so I said, "Yeah, I can." So I wrote a very short story. It was, I think, 20 pages long, very, very condensed, and she gave it to him for Christmas. Well, he got such a laugh out of it. He just thought this is okay, and so I thought, okay, I I'm going to have some fun here. So I called him after the fact, and I asked him about. I said, if this Durwood Tugbottom actually existed, how do you perceive him? Like, what's he look like physically? What's he all about? And so he's going on. He doesn't know what I'm planning to do, and so he's going on, and he's starting to describe Durwood as he perceives him to be, if he actually existed. So I'm making notes of all of this, and so I proceeded to go on and write the very, very first misadventures of Durwood Tugbottom. And I published it in 2012. And I dedicated it to my brother Rick. Each time that I have written a new installment to the Durwood comedy series, I dedicate it to my brother because that is where the gratitude lies. I mean, that is who I owe Durwood to. He gave me this character of Durwood Tugbottom and left it up to me to just do what I want with Durwood. Take him wherever I want, put him in whatever situation I want to put him into, and so of course I that's all I needed to hear, and so I've done that each time out. And this is the very first, The Misadventures of Durwood Tugbottom, and Durwood is known for this quote: "Retirement isn't always a peaches and cream delight. It can often be nothing more than sour grapes." Durwood is a retired London City Hall official, and who ends up coming to Canada to spend his golden years. Like, he's forced into retirement, never married, and always married to his job at the desk, the front desk, serving people that came in to ask all these ludicrous questions that just drives Durwood over the wall. And so, because England is known for its dampness and dreary days and what have you, Durwood decided that he is not going to spend the rest of his years there. He's going to go somewhere else. And what better place to go to retire than to the colony of Canada? And so this is what he does when he comes in the very, very first book of The Misadventures of Durwood Tugbottom. And I'm going to read the back to you on this one before we proceed onward. Have you ever taken a moment from your busy day to contemplate what might happen when someone tries their utmost to prevail, but regardless of what they do, they cannot make an impact? The Honorable, audacious, pretentious Durwood Justice Tugbottom from merry old England is such a person. Is just such a person. Some might even venture to say he is a menace to society. Yet people can often be fooled by what they see, confused even further by what they hear. travel along with newly retired official Durwood J. as he bumbles his way to the good old colony of Canada, further bumbling his way through the new life he endeavors to make at Anchors Away Retirement Center, in this adult comedy sure to tickle your funny bone. And so, again, this is The Misadventures of Durwood Tugbottom, the very first. When I wrote that, that was going to be it. I just wanted to write this comedy short. It's only, I believe it's only something like 45 pages. And that's what you call a short. And but when it came out, everybody, that personally knows me and personally knows my brother, they got such a kick out of it that I had a request to write a second. And so after a while, I decided, okay, I suppose I could do that. So in, let me see here, in 2017, there was quite a little bit of a break in between the time the very first Durwood came out to the second. And so I decided to pick up from where the first one leaves off, and I called it Durwood Returns. And he comes in the end of the very first one, things go awry. It's not the way he thought it was going to be. And he causes so much flack and problems at the retirement home. And he just drives everybody up the wall until finally he finds himself ostracized and practically forced out of the retirement center. So he leaves with the woman that took his heart, or so he thinks, and he leaves. And of course, when I pick it up, the second up from where the first leaves off, it doesn't work out just like he planned after he went back to England. So he decides to return. And that is the story in Durwood Returns. And so it just picks up where it says, the bumbling and pretentious Englishman, known for his staunch outlook and demanding ways, decides to return to the picturesque village of Vinehaven on the Lake, where he takes up residence in the swinging Sunset Villa Retirement Center, located directly across the road from the infamous Anchors Away, of which he hastily departed 2 years earlier. Now he is back, with a hard-learned lesson beneath his belt, and hopes of finding the life that escaped him on his initial try. And so this one is a bit longer. Durwood is growing each time he comes out. And this one is 69 pages in length. All of these they're a very fast read. You can sit down and read them in an hour, or it depends how fast you read, but definitely the very first one you could read in probably an hour and a half. The second one maybe in a couple of hours, depending, as they say, on how fast you read. Well, after the second one came out, it wasn't long, and I was getting requests to do a third Durwood. And this Durwood is 81 pages long. And this one, I decided to take Durwood and his very good buddy, Robbie McEwen, the Scotsman, who lives right next door to Durwood in the Sunset Villa. They become very fast friends, and they start to do everything together, go everywhere together. And so in this third installment, I decide to take Durwood and Robert on a swinging singles cruise to the Caribbean at Christmas time 2014. And so this is what happens in Durwood Goes Caribbean. And this is the third installment in the Durwood comedy series. And on the back it says, "The austere and proud Durwood Justice Tugbottom, dejected by a defunct love affair at his current residence, the swinging Sunset Villa Retirement Center, located in the picturesque village of Vinehaven-on-the-Lake, convinces his best friend, down-to-earth Scotsman Robert McEwen, also wandering through life searching for the same contentment as Durwood, to join him on a new adventure. Christmas of 2014 is fast approaching, and an intrepid Durwood talks Robert into taking a singles cruise to the Caribbean with him, which sends them on another eccentric adventure. Will they find what they hope to aboard ship? Will happiness present itself in one of the ports of call, or will it avoid them altogether?" Durwood Goes Caribbean is the third installment in the well-received Durwood Tugbottom comedy series, beginning with The Misadventures of Durwood Tugbottom, followed by Durwood Returns. Watch for the fourth installment of entitled Durwood Comes Home, coming in late 2019. And it's possible that it might not be until next year, in maybe the spring of 2020, before it actually comes out. When I write these, it doesn't take me all that long to write them. It's just a question of thinking up some silly scenario to stick Durwood into, and going from there, because as you see, they're certainly not novels where, it takes quite some time to write a novel. And so, whereas Durwood, it's, fairly short period of time that it takes to write the comedy short. Cheers. I'm having some of my watermelon again tonight. And so, that is the Durwood Tugbottom comedy series that different people talk about, and became the character of Durwood. I never imagined that the character of Durwood would become as popular as he is. I think that it's possible that it could be because of where Durwood came from. Who thought him up? Because my brother has got such an array of friends, and they all now know about Durwood. A lot, like everybody has copies of these books, and I think that's great. As I say, I have a hoot writing them. Um, it's a great way to entertain myself, especially in a novel, like a dramatic novel, where there's a lot of seriousness going on. Durwood really makes a fantastic break from that, and he's just fun to write. In my mind, like the way I pictured Durwood, he's very tall. He's now in Durwood Goes Caribbean. He's in his late 70s. He's 78, and like Robbie McEwen, he's the same age as Durwood, and they have a lot in common. Durwood worked in the public venue, whereas Robert, he comes from Edinburgh, and he used to work in an iron foundry, or I could be wrong there without checking. I think it is a copper foundry where um, they from copper they make statues and bronze and things like that, and so they got a lot in common. Neither one of them ever married. They like women. Just never ever found one that wanted to make them commit like that. Now Durwood, when he gets to Canada, he has an eye for the ladies, and he's a very, very snappy dresser, and cares about his appearance, and loves to dance, loves to regale the ladies, um, and of course that doesn't go over all that well with the men at the retirement center. And so as the series has grown, especially in Durwood Goes Caribbean, they go on this singles cruise to the Caribbean, and lo and behold, they find after they leave Halifax and they put out to sea, they find, lo and behold, there's some of the people from Anchors Away Retirement Center on board this cruise, as well as some from the Sunset Villa. And there's quite a surprise that Durwood runs into later in the cruise, that the last person he ever thought he would run into. And of course, that causes problems. And the way Durwood reacts to things, he, in many ways, is his worst enemy, because he tries so hard to keep up appearances, but the more he tries, the more he bumbles his way until he gets himself backed into a corner, and one thing leads to another, and he just ends up making the situation 10 times worse. And so, but you will love Durwood. I guarantee you'll love Durwood. I have not had any bad reviews, bad comments on Durwood. Everybody has accepted Durwood. I think everybody has their own interpretation of Durwood. I had one reader tell me they never thought, like in their mind, they pictured Durwood to be kind of a short, stocky man. Um, in my mind, no, he's not. He's, as I say, he's very tall, he's very thin and lanky, and he's got these huge, huge feet that he trips over almost when he walks. And he's a very, very snappy dresser, always caring about how he looks, how he's perceived, but he's very regimented. He's got his own way, his own views, and if things do not go the way he thinks they should, then you don't want to be on the receiving end of his retaliation. But he is a lot of fun to write. And I hope for those of you that take the chance on getting to know Durwood a little bit better, I think you're going to enjoy him fully as much as everyone so far seems to be enjoying Durwood. Um, there again, I didn't plan on doing a fourth, but when I was getting to the end of the third, people were asking me, is there going to be a fourth? Oh, come on, you can write a fourth, this type of thing. And yeah, I can. I didn't plan on it, but because Durwood has found such a following, I am going to be doing a fourth. Now, I won't guarantee a fifth. I'll wait and see when I get to the end of the Durwood Comes Home. And we'll go from there, and I'll see. But all of these books, the whole three of the comedy series thus far, every one of them can be gotten at Amazon.com. They're all available. They're all available in Kindle, for people that prefer Kindle, or paperback. And so I hope you go to Amazon.com and check them out. Just go to my Rusty Blackwood on Amazon, and they're all there along with my novels and other titles that I've written. So I do hope you go and check Durwood out. If you visit my website, www.rusty-blackwood.com, and go to my journal blog there, you can find out more about Durwood. Durwood doesn't have his own page on my website like my novels, each of my novels do. But if you go to my bio and contact and open that page and read about it, you will find some reviews for all the Durwoods thus far, and so it's just a lot of fun. When you write, you have to find little niches and little areas to go to for your own enjoyment, and that way it keeps things fresh um, for the reader. If the author, like the writer, becomes bored, I think it tends to show in the work, and it can become, um, where it just doesn't have the flavor, the hype, the same as maybe an earlier piece of work would have had, or it can work opposite. It can be an early piece of work that's not really thrilling you the best, but then if you take a chance at a later piece and a later title, and you find that one is more to your liking, more pulling you into the pages. But that's the way it goes when you write. Ideas that you may have when you sit down to think about the new book that you wish to write and the characters that you create for this book. Um, Sometimes you cannot always be certain that what you choose to do uh, might be maybe the best route to go. But as I've said before in earlier videos, you have to learn what best works for you, and learning how to trust your instincts and knowing your ability to do it. And so, but whatever you write, whatever it is, whatever genre it is, enjoy it. It is this is this is you. Everything you write is part of you. It comes from your mind. You can base it on different experiences you've had in life. Um, and if you're not certain, research it. And that way, what you write is believable and it's legible. And nobody's going to try to be taking you to task, telling you, well, yeah, whoever told you could write, you don't know anything about it. Um, turn a blind ear, or a deaf ear, blind eye, deaf ear, and stick to your path. And with that, I'm going to say goodnight for now, and go and see what I can get into tonight. By the looks of the sky, it looks like maybe we're going to have a little bit more rain tonight. Here in Niagara, I don't know whether it's because of the escarpment and so much rock. Um, the ground here, we can get rain today, and by tomorrow night or the next day at the latest, we could have rain again. The ground can become rock hard. And so down here, with all of the fruit trees and all of the grapevines, it does require a lot of moisture, a lot of rain. And sometimes we just don't always get the amount that we need. But lately, in the evenings, like overnight, we have been getting rain. I just hope that we've been getting enough. The fruit so far This harvest has been quite good. The cherries were phenomenal this year, the black cherries. The sour cherries haven't, the red cherries, they haven't come on yet. But the black cherries, or the sweet cherries, um, they were just so large and so full of juice and so sweet. They're just lovely. I don't recall a year of them being as good as they have been this year, in a very, very long time anyway. And and if you see them in your local market or your grocery where it says Niagara on them, treat yourself and get yourself some. You're not going to be sorry. So with that, I'm going to say good night to everybody. I hope you have a very, very nice evening. Stay safe. Be well. God's blessings to each of you. And I will see you again soon. Good night for now.